it is. I haven't gone live in forever, and going live from my phone is about 500 times easier than going live from my computer, which is over here. And I'm getting ready to close it down. And yeah, the one thing about, I used to go live a lot, like once a week, and I got into the ability and the comfort, so I kept from my pain, of talking to myself. Hi, whoever's here. I'm just going to kind of shoot the shit with you guys for a minute until there's maybe some more people here, because I feel more comfortable if it's a little bit of an exchange than if I'm in here all by myself, talking to myself. Hi, John. I'm trying to remember what I wrote, because I always forget what I wrote. I know that the topic today is clarity, sanity, and sustainable awareness. Doesn't sound very sexy, but it's like my favorite thing ever in all the world are those things. And it really stems from some conversations I've been having with friends, people that I love, people that I care about. Hi, Anthony. Around, and I talked a little bit about it in some posts earlier about despair and how it can be really difficult to not, kind of allow yourself to be bogged down by despair. And I have a really clear stance about that, right? Like, despair is not an option. It's a place I have a really clear boundary about my internal relationship with myself. Hi, Ben. Is that despair is not an option. And the antidote, if you will, or the practice that helps to counter that way of being or that way of falling into despair is clarity, is looking for sanity in your own life, in your own experience, in a world that, I don't know for you guys, but ever since the day I was born has felt insane to me. So and I'm realizing the lighting is terrible, but I'm in Switzerland. It's very cold outside. It gets dark here at 5 o'clock. It's now a little after 6. So this is the lighting that we get. You want to see the setup? Are you interested? There's a light over there. And then there's a light right there. And there's a light behind the computer there. So that's the lighting we have. If you're here, say hi. For me, I like this to be an interactive thing. So if you have questions, you have your own opinions about what I'm saying. And to preface that, I talk from my lived experience. Of course, there's nuance and complexity about topics that I choose to talk about. But I talk about it from my own experience. I'm not trying to say I know everything and I'm the absolute, but I will talk with a very strong voice, a very strong opinion from my lived experience. I just feel like I need to preface that in the way that I've seen things going online. There seems to be a difficulty in having nuanced conversations online. For some people, I don't have a problem. I can talk about pretty much anything. Everything's on the table. Hi, Shelly. I'm glad you're here too. Yeah, that's part of my clarity, right? I live in the clarity of my own being, and I allow and have practiced for a really long time to be clear. It's why the third thing I wrote was sustainable awareness. Hi, Nikki. Because one of the lies, and I'm going to use a lot of words. If you don't like them, throw them away. If you don't like me or what I'm saying, throw it away. But one of the ways in which the colonized thinking or the Western mind really fucks us up is it tells us that we are not aware of our entire experience, that we can oscillate, that we live half of our life unconscious or some crap like this. Hi, Willem. That's not true. Hi, Naz. Our innate birthright, and what I mean by birthright is we are born with the ability to be aware in every moment of our lives, the ability to know what's going on, to know how we feel, to understand where we are in relationship to where they are or what's happening in the world is, to be able to self-reference and be sustainable from that place inside yourself, where sanity lives. So I think we're going to go with sustained awareness. I'm going to keep talking about that because I have complex trauma in my life, as in my childhood and my young adulthood. was still a child before I was 25 years old. And that caused dissociative disorders. It caused some depressive disorders, some panic disorders. And all of those really solidified the illusion that we can't be fully present all the time. You know, that we're either halfway here or halfway there. I don't know where there is supposed to be in the narrative, but it's not here. And as if I don't have the right to be fully clear in this moment or to be fully present to my communication. And you will see remnants of this in the way that people talk to each other, in the way that maybe you talk to people or people talk to you, where they're so willing and so quick. And this is nobody's fault. We're all swimming in this soup. We've all been indoctrinated in it. So remember that when I'm talking about this. I'm not like people suck. That's not what I'm coming from. That other people have the right to tell us who we are and what we're doing and what we think and what we just said. Those are some of the ways that you can see it. Like when somebody will tell me what my experience is or try to argue with me about what I'm experiencing. I'm in no way saying what is true for me is the universal abject truth of the universe. Hi, Shauna. At all. Like, no, but I will not budge from the stand of what I know to be true for me, in my experience, in my lived experience, for what's true for me. And I know that when I started to really practice, because I had to practice, because I have conditioning like everybody does, allowing awareness to be here all the time. And allowing is a weird word, but like really practicing, like I'm aware of every word that comes out of my mouth. I'm aware of the feelings in my body everywhere. I'm aware right now talking to you that there's noises in the background, right? That means, oh, somebody's coming home. Everybody's going to start coming home from school and work. I'm aware of roughly who's here, right? I'm aware. And it doesn't go away. My awareness doesn't leave, ever. I might have been taught not to be aware. I might have trauma. I might have, real disabilities, mental, I hope, that make it hard for me to realize that awareness is always here. But awareness is always here. Hi, Tila. And then we're taught that it's not, or we're taught that we're not allowed to be fully aware of our entire experience at all times in every moment. And so when I started to practice this, there was like some fear that came up, because clarity meant that I knew things immediately. I knew how I felt in regards to the thing I was witnessing, or in the conversation that I was, or I knew when somebody was trying to manipulate me. I knew, I could see full dynamics instantaneously. I could see patterns of relating in the moment that it was happening. I just knew things that, might make other people uncomfortable. I know they made me uncomfortable, but in the, like, I can't be this clear this quickly, right? Like I can't make a judgment call that fast. I can't recognize an offer or an opportunity is not for me and walk away immediately. No, I got to think about it, and I got to be manipulated into it, and all, like, so many things where it was like I just being able to say yes or no really quickly. And it can be disturbing to others who don't have that skill set, because it is a skill set. It's not something, if we had been left alone as children to really grow into our innate beingness, then we wouldn't need to learn it. But I had to learn it in this Western-minded world. So, Shannon, I'm glad you're here. Fully present because of trauma, but can be fully aware of this. Yeah, good reminder. Yes. And it's like, hi, Sophia. Sometimes in my life with trauma, and it's gotten like so much better. Like I'm just super thankful. I'm just having a moment of gratitude. There's a trauma reaction and response, and then there's what's really happening. And it took me a long time to be able to be discerning about my experience. This is where the awareness piece came in, was to be aware. There are 2 tracks running for me, maybe 3 or 4, right? But there's 2 tracks. And the very first step is that awareness. I can't do anything with the awareness. I can't make the trauma go away. I can't fix anything. I can't change that I'm having a lived past experience in my body right now while I'm in this reality. I can't change that, but I can be aware. And that awareness of like, okay, I see this, I'm aware of this, is what allowed me to move into like practices that actually help me to not have traumatic responses, not triggers, but not to respond or react from that place. But years, we're talking years of work. So I'm not saying, like, I always tell people, I'm not a quick fix. I'm not going to give you, here you go home and do this XYZ and your whole life is going to change. People work with me and I always tell them, you know, welcome to about 5 years of work, at least, for yourself. Not that I do, that you do. Switzerland is cold as hell and snowing, at least where I am. Like, I have chickens and I have to go out and I have to, 3 times a day I have to give them water because the water freezes. That's how cold it is. I didn't understand for so long, and then I just accepted myself and awareness. Yeah, well, the not understanding was intentional. We were indoctrinated to not be fully occupied inside ourselves. Like, don't you dare know what's good for you. Don't you dare be so arrogant as to be full of yourself. There's a lot of like shaming, blaming, guilting, because that's a construct too. That is the biggest construct of the Western mind and colonialism that keeps people oppressed. And then we learn to oppress ourselves. And my best example of this, and again, I use words, I say things, you don't like it, please go, it's okay, it's cool. I'm not gonna take it personal. I like to say that women, because I'm a woman in the world, I have a woman's experience in the world. If by menopause they haven't become radicalized, menopause will radicalize you if you let it into the because you become aware so clearly the world as it is functioning, the systemic crap that is happening is not working on your behalf as a woman. And that if I don't value myself as an equitable human being to all men and all genders, then I am participating in my own oppression. I'm participating in the collective bullshit that I am less than anyone else. And I won't do it. And that's radicalization, in my opinion, right? Is that I'm out. I'm not doing that. And I will stand clearly and staunchly on this line, and I will not move. Just as an example, the things that I do as a mother of 5 children, one who did not come out of my womb, but is still my child, it still lives here, and I'm still supporting, and a business owner, a very tiny business. I run my little business, and the household. My career has been put aside 4 times for birthing and breastfeeding and baby carrying. And my husband has built a business, and he's built a business with 45 employees, and he has been able to stay on that track the entire time of our being together. And I've done all the babysitting. I have to, I've done all the meal preps. I've done all the clothing shopping. All these things, right? And I give you this list because I had to write the list for myself to see, oh shit, I do a ton of crap that is not valued in society, that has not been taught to my husband, that it has value, that hasn't been taught to me that it has value. And I just started to write it, and I'm like, this is some bullshit. And so if somebody tries to, put my husband on a pedestal because he goes to work, I'm like, good, I'm not participating in that. I'm not going to feel less than because you don't see the invisible work because of what the world values. I'm not going to feel less than, and I'm not going to take a bow out because there's in the world at large, the work that I do is invisible and unvalued. But not by me. I will be damned if I don't value myself as a human being, whether I do any of those things or not. Because I'm not participating in that colonial bullshit. I refuse. Just like I refuse to spare. I'm not participating. And it's work. It sounds like really easy. I'm not participating. But it was like a lot of deconditioning on the inside. A lot of like, that's not my thinking. A lot of like, what is that? why do I believe that? And finding out that I believe a lot of things that I was indoctrinated to believe. One of the examples I like to use is, I'm doing a lot of body work right now, and on people. It's an indigenous Maori body work called Romi Romi Miri Miri. And I've been doing it for a really long time on myself, and now I'm doing it on other people. And it's an interactive, it's healing work, it's not a massage. And so it's interactive, you talk to people. And I was working on a young woman who, her period had just started. And I said, and I was working on her pelvic area. And we were talking about, she's like, oh, fuck you. And I'm like, are you saying that to me, or are you saying that to your period? And she was shocked that I knew she had her period. And she just started. It was probably right before she came. And she's like, yeah, and in her lineage, which is her mother, her grandmother is from Nepal. Your period is considered like kind of dirty and not a good time. And she had internalized that. And she's 20 years old. She's internalized this. And I was like, in the lineage that I come from, and in the lineage of the teachers of the works that I do, this is like a really beautiful thing to have your period. Like, for example, in the body work that I do, when I have my period, I cannot work on men. Not because I'm dirty. I can work on women just fine. But because I'm powerful. That's why. Because as a woman, when you are on your period, you are powerful. And you can work on other women because they're attuned to that power. But you don't do that to men. You go through a period, then you work on men again. Completely different philosophy. And it's sinking in, right? And she's like, wow, this is cool. It's a really, hi, Elena. This is a really, interesting perspective. And then we keep working, and I'm telling her about some of the things that I had learned and seen, some of the very normal, miraculous things I've seen heal through the work that I've been taught. And she was like, okay, yeah, that's good. And there was one thing about that, like we were talking about if remote healing was possible, and we're just talking about that thing. She's like, yeah, well, I don't think I believe that. I said, yeah, but isn't it interesting how deeply you believe that your period is a bad thing? But that certain kinds of healing that are natural to human beings isn't? There's skepticism. Like what we've been taught to be skeptical of is actually our innate way of being. That we don't question our conditioning. We take conditioning in as if it's true. Mostly because we were children, that's not our fault, right? But we don't question, why do I think like this? Why am I making choices like this? Is this thought something I believe? Or am I just believing it because I've been told that's the truth? And especially about myself or my womanhood or my body or who other people think I should be. Awareness. Hi, Sarah. So awareness. If I'm aware in every moment, then my choices become my own. If I'm unaware in every moment, my choices are very they're like in a weird kind of muddy place. I can't choose from a place of not being aware. But I'm still taking action and doing things in this place of unawareness, I'm still responsible for the outcome. That's a bitter pill to swallow. It's like, shit, I didn't even know I was choosing that for that reason, and I did, and here's the outcome. And as an adult, I have to face that responsibility. Sustained awareness. Sustainable awareness. Clarity. Hi, Amit. Sanity. I just want to be sane. And sanity means being really honest, incredibly transparent. My sanity, and there's times I didn't feel very sane. And like I said earlier on, that in my childhood, I still find a lot of things in the world insane. Our Western way of being so isolated is insane to me. Of living in nuclear families. Like when I started having children, I was like, what the fuck is this? How am I supposed to do this by myself? The fact that there are weapons at all that are not to procure food is insane to me. The idea of oppression is insane to me. Just so much insanity. And I was like, where is the sanity? And I knew that I had, somewhere in all of this, the work that I teach is the way that I found to have sanity, no matter what's happening. No matter what is happening in front of me, no matter what is happening in the world, there's a place I get to choose how I relate to other people and to the world. I don't get to choose what other people do. I don't get to choose what's happening in the world. Not even, no, I don't have that kind of power or that kind of control. But where I do have choice is in staying aware. Like if something happens in front of me that's scary or that is triggering for my trauma, I have taught myself over time, practiced to stay here, to stay in this moment, to stay sane, to stay aware. This doesn't mean I have like this ability, you know, it's not like my life changed on the external, like any big thing, but internally it changed a lot in that I can feel my feelings really strong. I can wail, I can sob, I can feel my grief. I can also feel my joy. That one was hard. Joy for me. Again, I'm just pausing because I really feel gratitude and appreciation that I could feel joy. Because it was a long, hard road for me to clear the gunk out of the way so that I could feel joy again. Hi, Meredith. And that I can feel almost simultaneously deep, agonizing grief and joy. And that is my right as a human being. That I can laugh and smile and have a joyful moment in a moment that I'm grieving utterly deeply. And that's my right as a human being. And that just because I'm laughing and smiling and having joy does not mean that grief is not present, or just because I'm wailing and sobbing does not mean that joy doesn't have space. And then spread that out as a metaphor over just the human experience. I can be aware of humor in a really serious moment. I can be aware of not liking somebody and still treat them with respect. I'm aware, I don't like this person. Fascinating. It doesn't have to mean shit. I do a lot of, when I talk about in my work, I talk about that there's a reason that we can't read each other's mind. It's called the privacy of our own being. And in the privacy of my own being, everything is allowed. Thoughts, images, whatever the hell's happening here is allowed. But because I have awareness, what comes out of my mouth, what I choose to do, the actions that I take are going to be very different than what's happening in the privacy of my own being. Those words and those actions are not going to come out of where I'm at because of the awareness that I practice and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and time on task and practiced and practiced. And now sitting here on the other side of it, which for me is like 20 years, I'm like, fuck, that was worth it. During the time of all the work, it was hard. Not all of it, obviously, or I wouldn't have kept doing it. I'm not like the most tenacious person, but there were hard aspects, and I didn't know what the outcome of doing the work was going to be. I did the work because I was desperate. I was hurting. I was confused. Things didn't make sense. Being insane or feeling insane I was like, this is not what life's about. It took me a long time to figure out what my life is about. And I get confirmations, which I love. And maybe it's bullshit to some people, but for me, I came to the understanding in my awareness, in my own sanity, in my own clarity, that my work as a human is to be an ancestor worthy of descending from. Those words came to me when I realized that my lineage is mostly all trauma. That my ancestors, you know, in the last 5 generations minimum didn't even know how to be human. And I knew that it ended with me. I decided, I made that choice. This ends with me. I want to, you know, be a great, great, great grandmother worthy of descending from. Whether that ever happens or not. Like, there's no pressure on my children to have kids, but that is what my clarity brought me. And what I love about awareness and sanity and clarity is it completely obliterated any idea that I have to do anything big with my life. You know, that I have to, like, this legacy crap, this potential crap, this running after being something for somebody else or something else or to appear a certain way dies. It dies. And I just get to be me as a human. Complex, nuanced, and fucked up sometimes. That's true for me. That's my lived reality. I am fucked up sometimes. And the amount of grief I have every time I have to meet that fucked upness, I can't even articulate. Like, Jesus Christ, what? Holy crap. I wouldn't wish what I carry on anybody. And yet I know through working with hundreds of, maybe even 1,000 people at this point, that I'm not the only one. That I'm not. I have that clarity. I'm not making assumptions about people I meet every day on, you know, face to face, that they, I don't go, oh, everybody's traumatized. I don't have that thought, but I know that there's a lot of us out there. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for being here and receiving it, Shauna, because I feel sometimes like I'm just talking to myself. Hi, Laura. But I could talk about this for ever. And then I could go into talking about the skill sets. I call them skill sets. That I didn't get as a kid, and I didn't get as a teenager, and I didn't get as a young adult in order to step into maturity. And being mature, and I'm making this claim because it's my clarity, being mature is the best thing I've ever done in my life. Ever. Ever, ever. I live being mature. Taking responsibility for my life and my choices and my communication, how I talk to people, my tone of voice, taking responsibility for that, but not taking responsibility. Maturity is not taking responsibility for the world or what's happening in the world or, overly being like, maturity means I'm capable of interdependent relating. That's what it means. That I know who I am always, like that. I don't stray from that. I know who I am. And I'm aware of what's happening when I'm relating to someone else. I'm aware of the words that I speak. If we're on social media, I'm aware of the words that I write. I don't have issues if there's a real correction that needs to be made, but I don't let people tell me what to do. Ever. I will always consult myself. Like, is this what I need? Is this true for me? Is this what's going on? And that can be confronting to people. Not because I'm confrontational, but because I don't play that normal, indoctrinated game of like, oh, I don't know who I am, and I'm lost, and maybe you could tell me. You, who I maybe don't know at all. Maybe you could tell me what I need to do with my life. Like, And I did this. Like, when I'm making jokes about behavior, I'm talking about my own. So, not alone, right there with you. I could talk about this all day, so thank you. This work can feel so isolating at times. I agree. So I appreciate conversation connecting around it. I agree. And that's the, so, okay, where this is going for me. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Mary. Is interdependent is how we're wired. We're wired to collaborate, to cooperate, to build, sorry, my hair, I'm really hot, but I don't have a hair doohickey. We're wired to need each other. We need each other. We really, really need each other. We breathe the same air all over the world, but we really need each other. That's just a side subject. I don't have a hair thing. Long hair problems. Okay. But the whole point that I learned is that healing, while it is an individual thing, obviously, nobody could have done the work inside myself that I did. Obviously, I had to do that myself. But it cannot be done alone. Not the wholeness, right? There's a wholeness in the process of healing. And by healing, I don't mean curing, where it can't be done by, like, we have to heal in relationship. We have to do this work in relationship to other people. Like, you don't find, we're relationally built. So you can go very far in your own healing on your own. And eventually you have to relate to other people. Like, that's just how it is. And deep healing that takes place requires it happening not just in relating to one other person, but in having some kind of community, whether that's 5 people or 30 people or 100 people, usually not more than that, because we're not wired to relate to that many people. It's required. We need each other. We need each other in every way. And the issue in the Western world, because of colonialism and all kinds of things like patriarchy and misogyny and the systems that are fucked up that have been created specifically to fuck people over, everyone in the system loses, is that we've been separated from each other, from this idea of healing in community and healing together and doing healing work in a space where other people are doing the same, and in a space where respect and integrity and care are really high values. You know, the really high values. Those are my top 3 values in my life that I live by. And like one of my very clear internal boundaries that I live, this is like, I live this. This is not something I'm just saying because it sounds good, right? I live this. And it starts with one you guys have always probably heard, which is, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And I live into the words that I speak. So I have to be aware about what's coming out of my mouth. I have to be aware about what I'm saying. And because I say what I mean and I mean what I say, that's unbelievably true about me to a T. And to the point that if I say something that I know is untrue, I immediately catch myself say, oops, I said that, I lied. That's not true. I thought it was true when it coming out of my mouth, but when it's out of my mouth, I recognize, oh, that's true, and I'm taking that back. And then I will live into the words that I speak. So if I make an agreement that is in the future that I can't possibly know anything about, I will live into that. I will no longer participate in my own oppression. When I heard it come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Here we go. This is me, deconstructing my own conditioning, because I can't live like this. I can't participate in the structural systemic bullshit where we just continuously eat ourselves and each other alive. I will have nothing to do with it. And that means that I actively go into biases. I look for biases. There's so many biases on, hi Jeff, hi Susan, hi Mary. Biases on, hi Heather, that we've been taught, that we pick up just from culture. And what's really cool about the internet these days, when I started doing this 20 years ago, it was like I had to dig and you needed like textbooks, but there's all kinds of biases tests on the internet. Highly, highly suggest that you play with those. Highly. Just even to give you ideas about things that you may be believing that are not fucking true for you. For you. They might be true in society. They might be true to a certain religion or a certain dogma or a certain, obligatory bullshit. But is it true for you? Do you believe that women are less than men? Do you believe that people of color are less than you are? Or that, or do you believe anybody's less than you are? Do you believe anybody's better than you are? And then you start looking at like, why do I believe this? Is this true? Do I really think this in my being and myself? Is that true for me? And if it's not, I'm going to do the work of pulling that out every time I find it inside myself. I'm going to start to see the pattern happening around. Oh, that is misogyny. Holy shit. Oh, that is misogyny in there. Oh, crap. That's the awareness. You start being aware. And when you become aware, that's when you can start to change things. And the truth is, I said it before, I'm going to say it again, you are always aware. You have access to awareness of your experience every moment of your life. You've just been taught that you don't. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yes. Yes, would like this mindset all over life and all dimensions. Hope for a lot of small business to pop up that are really authentic, where people can truly thrive together. Yeah, community is a desire of mine. You know, and I mean, I always joke because I live in this house with 7 other people. No, sorry, there are. Who am I? Okay, there's 5 other people. Is that right? Yes, there's 5 other people that live in this house. And then I also have an older son who comes back often, and my mother-in-law who we care for as well. So we're about 8 or 9 people coming and going most of the time. And I always joke that, you know, I have a built-in community. But in the body work that I've been doing, it's a community project. Part of the body work that I do is 100 free sessions on 100 different bodies. So when somebody comes for a second one, that doesn't count. It's free, and it's a community service. So it might open up for me a bit more, or it's a big learning process in a lot of different ways for me. And having like people I don't know, you know, coming into my living room while everything else is going on, it's just interesting. But it's like, I think the thing about all of this is that I didn't wait for others to, you know, do this deconditioning work to be aware all the time. And at some point I needed others. And I started creating and crafting online communities that were not huge. Because like, like if I sold something and there were like 100 people in the room, I'd feel really weird. That's not my most favorite, right? I prefer to be with groups online, 15 to 30 people. In person, probably like 50. It would be the maximum of like a group size that I feel I can actually like really know and have hands on and really deeply interact with everyone. Because that's a really important value for me. And when I started to put myself into groups and create groups, I began to realize how important like the group is. Whether it's 10 people or 15 or 30 or 50, when you're doing work like this, the deconstructive work, where you're learning skill sets to be a mature human being, when you're healing, you need other people. And of course you need other people who are, I want to say, who are in the same idea of work as you are, who have a good grasp of the values I just said, which are respect, integrity, and care. And you want to be discerning about who those people are, is what I'm saying. You know, you don't just plop yourself into some random space and start trying to heal with people. Please don't do that. I don't recommend it. But, you know, it could be an experience. So you're adults. Do what you need to do. I trust you. Trust yourselves. I can hear them cooking in the kitchen, so I'm going to slowly move. If you're here and you're still listening, or you come and watch this later, I am very tentatively walking, you know, I live into the words that I speak. So I'm trying to be really careful. This year I would like to do podcast. And because I don't like talking to myself, I feel feels so much better. I'm going to do like a question and answer. So I have questions from people that I already have a list, and I'm going to like ask the question of myself and speak on the podcast. If you guys have any questions or subjects in particular that you think that you want my view on, because it's just my view. It's just my experience. That's all I share. I'm not trying to be entertaining. I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm masterful at what I do because what I do is being me. So if you want to help out and you can send me questions or topics or things, I would be super grateful. And if you don't, it's not an obligation. You don't have to do it. I'm just putting it out there. I'm in the phase of being able to rebuild community, so I appreciate you speaking to this. Yeah. And it's like, remember, because I just want to catch your language, Shauna, that you cannot build a community by yourself. That's really important. Community requires other people wanting to build that community with you. It's not something that one person can generate. And that like individualistic language is what we've all been indoctrinated into. Like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to build community, right? I built community not knowing really what I was doing and watched it flourish. And I still can't sit down and be like, community is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is how you do it, right? The truth is the communities that I have created were completely impossible without the people in that community creating it with me. So I did a group for a year that's called the Simple Circle. I've opened it again, but that group that started in 2021, it starts out, I facilitate about 26 skill set lessons. There's group activities and there's singular activities. There's a whole thing in there I won't get into, but it's great. It's not that I don't want to. I'm just saving time. It went for, and then the paid portion of the group ends in 2021. And now it's group facilitated. It's a community that runs, whether I check in on them or not. They're my community too, but we are a community together. It's not me in some authority position running this thing. Those people created that community as much as I did. Now, of course, through the work that I do, that community facilitates, right? But without everybody else putting themselves into community, putting themselves into vulnerability, putting themselves into, I'm going to show up not only for myself, but I'm going to show up for you here too. And the responsibility of like, I'm showing up for other people. Like, it's a lot. And so it's not, like when I say I create communities, it's a little bit of a language mix up because it's not true. I provide environments where communities can craft and cultivate themselves and the values that are needed, which I told you, integrity, care, and to go out of words went out of my mind, but I said them before. Like you're saying, consult with yourself. This year I'm doing an experiment where I listen more to my intuition. I call this experiment the year of the gut. Yeah, so I stopped using the word intuition. I don't know when. It's been a while. And it wasn't like, I'm not going to use that word. It doesn't work for me. But because it didn't, it just isn't what's happening here. So I just want to offer you this, throw it in the trash if it doesn't work for you, Sophia. If you want to keep calling it intuition, I'm not making any. But the word intuition in the world that we live in is like this mysterious thing. This, almost mystical. And the word that I use now is clarity. I'm not looking for my intuition to give me insight. I'm just fucking clear. And in that clarity, insight always is. And if I don't have clarity and I'm in about something, I just go about my life and do other things. I don't try to get my intuition or clarity. Somebody said, follow their heart. That also doesn't ring true for me. It doesn't, my clarity is like this, it's not loud, it doesn't scream, that's for sure. It's not like this bombastic, oh, the skies open up or shit like that. But it's much more everyday, real, grounded, and rooted in being a human being who knows who they are. It has not much to do with like the things that I know, which I think would call intuition. I have a lot of insight, a lot. I've had people be like, are you psychic? No, I have clarity. And this is just like, it's, for me, clarity, it's much more pragmatic. It's much more solid. than the idea of intuition. Yes, Nikki, not trying to force clarity. If I don't have clarity in the moment, I don't have fucking clarity in the moment. But I have a whole life to live. So like, and I could be like putting the silverware in the drawer and I'm like, aha, there it is. And boom, right? I could be taking a piss. I don't know. But what does happen is when clarity is here, I have taught myself to act. I have taught myself to close the gap between clarity and the action that needs to, even if the action is like, don't do that thing, right? I don't do the thing. So that's the, there's a skill set I teach, I forget what it's called, but it has to do with the liminal space. That we go into this liminal space and we're trying to get clarity and we're trying to make choices and we stay in limbo in the liminal space. And with practice, we can close the gap between I'm in this liminal space trying to figure my shit out to I have my shit figured out. But without like this controlling thing, like I'm the controller of my universe. I don't believe in that. I have places where I am absolutely responsible and I can make choices, but I do not have like superpower controls over what's happening in the world or over other people at all. I was finding that I wasn't tapping into or listening to myself. I was sometimes getting distracted by other feelings and thoughts. Well, your feelings or thoughts are you. And within your awareness, you begin to realize that like some thoughts I can keep and some thoughts I can let go and thoughts are happening and I don't have a lot of control. That was true for a while. But my thinking is much closer to innate thinking. It's no longer this Western-minded way of thinking. And that kind of thinking is, innate thinking is it's just more real life. Like doing this and doing that, there's not a lot of noise. And that's what I mean. Like if you are looking for intuition, which is this kind of nebulous mystery thing, those feelings and things that you say distract you, loop into that instead of like, I know what I know. And you start practicing just knowing, not needing to know, not trying to figure out, but actually knowing. Yes, no, that's a good point. As they say, until I had insight in my trauma triggers felt like intuition. Exactly. And so I haven't used the word intuition forever, and I'm just making that connection here with you guys. It's clarity. Clarity is far more important to me than intuition, and it's way clearer. It's not foggy at all. It's either here or it's not. It's not hiding from me. It's just like, I don't have clarity right now. It's not hidden in some place. I have to go seek it. I don't have to go on some, journey or seeking thing or ask somebody else. I just gotta wait in the discomfort of not being clear. Because clarity lives inside of me. It doesn't happen out there. I have somatic body knowing. If something feels off in my body, I pay attention. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Like, this body that we have, we've been taught a whole bunch of bullshit about what the body's capable of in so many ways. What our own bodies are to ourselves. Like, we're not even taught really where our organs are in like mainstream education. Unless you like go into anatomy or you go look at that, you might be, you might kind of know you have a liver and you have a spleen maybe. Yes, something about the menopause experience, Shelley, is like a radicalization, right? If it's a real opportunity to like dump all the bullshit that we've been taught, for sure. I mean, I'm like at the cusp, right? And it's another place where it's like we women are not being served by the way the world works. We are not being given value in what menopause is, and it has a shit ton of value, and there's a shit ton of power in it, and there's not enough talk about that. It's always about covered up with HRT. I'm not saying anybody wants to take RT, do that, whatever, but it's always about cover up. It's always about the Western minded thinking is fix, fix, fix. Fix myself so I can hear my intuition. Fix myself so I can, whatever, lose weight. Fix myself so I don't have trauma. Fix myself, fix myself, fix myself. When there's nothing that needs to be fixed about you, ever. Healing is not fixing. Healing is not curing. We will always be on a healing journey because we may go through a healing episode and then guess what? We keep living. We keep living and we keep absorbing life. And then there's more healing. And that's just how it is. For example, it's like with a coach saying, I should take this assessment to aid my decisions. Yeah. I thought, no, I don't want to take that assessment. I can figure out or take a different approach. It's my choice. Yes. That sounds like clarity to me. That sounds like clarity to me, Sophia. And the thing is that I'm clear. I don't want to do that. Thank you very much for the suggestion. And I'm not going to do it. And then you go on with your life and there's no like overthinking of like, oh shit. Should I have listened to them? Should I have done this? It's like, nah, that's not for me. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. But no, I'm not going to do that. And be okay with it. That's my clarity. I don't have to, and I don't have to give anybody, I don't have to tell anybody a reason. That's just not going to work for me. I know how I function. I know how my brain works. I know how my trauma works. So when I approach things, I have to approach them so outside the box that most people understand about living that I am the most knowledgeable about what's going to work for me and what's not somebody else. This is the other thing the Western-minded construct has taught us, is that we have to outsource our authority and our knowing to someone else. And it's a fucking fallacy. We need each other, but not to tell each other what to do, but to hold each other in care and growth. We do not need each other to tell each other what to do. For validation, fuck yes, we need each other. But to tell us what to do, to tell us who we are, to tell us that this is going to change your life, no. You need you. And then the way that we become interdependent is, I know who I am. I'm a fully fledged knower of who I am. And you know who you are. And you're a fully fledged knower of who you are. And we both take responsibility for our choices and who we are and how we interact and our communication. And then we do things together in collaboration. And we're not disrespectful or mean or nasty or conniving or condescending towards each other because we know how to be with each other. And we know how to say, oh yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. Or I don't really like this idea. Give me more information. How could we do that? I'm so glad you're here too, Shelley. That's what makes us interdependentable, is when we can each take responsibility for our own selves while also being able to contribute and collaborate to things for all of us. I don't want to live in a world that doesn't work for everybody, but I live in that world. I do live in that world. I live in the world that doesn't work for everyone. And I live in the pipe dream of a world that works for everyone, and I won't stop. I won't stop believing and dreaming, hi John, of the possibilities of interdependent, collaborative cooperation amongst all humans on earth. I won't. I'm also super clear it's not reality right now. It's not. It's not the reality in some of my day-to-day life things, but it's the reality that I like to hold as a possibility. For sure. And it's like how I make my choices about the things that I do and how I go about my life and the things that are in my awareness. Yeah. In order to be interdependent, collaborative, we need a lot more mature adults. And I don't use the word maturity to put anybody, like to say that, I don't use the word immature to put anyone down. I don't. I'm not saying that like those people who are immature are terrible. Like I don't talk like that. I don't think like that. But I can understand how sometimes it can be perceived like this. What I mean by mature adults is those that have the skill sets and maturity. And I call them skill sets because they're not given in school. I don't know about y'all, but where I grew up and also where I live, when you hit that, magical legal age, you're an adult. Ta-da! Now go fuck up your life. Like, there's no guidance in what it really means to be responsible and make your choices with care for yourself, for the people in your life that you care about and for the environment that you live in, including the planet. That's part of being mature, of seeing things. The thinking goes from either or, black and white, to both and possibility of what it means to be a whole humanity for each other. But that's a whole nother thing. And it's just stuff I talk about. It's not stuff that part I don't teach. Except that these skill sets are expandable in the ability to really shift your relationship with yourself. That's what my main concern was when I created the curriculum, was that people walking out of the work that I facilitate, you guys walking away from here, walk away with even a millimeter more of yourself, a millimeter of more trust in yourself, a millimeter of more feeling like I relate to me. I have an awareness and a clarity and a sanity in my own self and my own sense of myself and my own knowing of who I am. That has been really my agenda. That people walk away from the things that I teach trusting themselves more, not me. If somebody extends trust to me, that is such a precious thing, and I never take it lightly. But I don't want them to trust me. I want them to trust themselves. I want you to trust yourselves. I talk all kinds. I could talk for hours. I could say all kinds of things. I think I sound pretty good. I like the things I talk about. But if they don't work for you, throw them in the trash. I don't need to convince anybody. I'm not trying to convert anybody to anything. I'm just like, hey, I know it's possible. And I know it's possible not because I read a book, although I've read thousands, probably tens of thousands of books in my lifetime. And I know it's possible not because I went to school or somebody gave me a stamp, or even because of all of the learning I have done in my life and all of the teachers I have put myself in the space with them. I know it's possible because of what I'm doing and what I'm living, from my own experience, from me. And so I don't feel like I have to prove anything. I don't feel like I have to convince anybody of anything. I don't even want to. Like, it's not a thought that, oh, everybody needs this knowledge or everybody needs to be like, I don't have that. I'm just like, hey guys, I got this information from my own lived experience and here's what it looks like. And some of it I get paid for. And a lot of it I do for free. And I put the same effort no matter what. I give the same, I pour in the same, whether it's a paid or it's this is free. I'll probably do a lot more of these free things while I'm working on doing a podcast. I don't know why I feel nervous, but I do. And that's okay. Because that's my reality right now. All right, loves. I'm going to go and have dinner. And I'm not making promises, but I think I may be doing this more often. We shall see how that goes, hopefully with better lighting, so I look more, glamorous. No, I'm kidding. I don't care about that. Nope, I don't care about the glamour. You should know that too about me. I care, but I'm super, super thankful for all of you who have been here, who have stayed here, who are watching this, I don't know, 5 years from now, although I don't think they stay up like that anymore. But yeah, without you guys, I couldn't do this. So I appreciate you. And thank you for being even interested in the things I have to share. Take care.